What's going on about this Afro think tank? Listen, some of you FBA are under the impression that for some, I don't know where y'all getting any of y'all information from. Fox News, Tariq Nasheed, whatever. But y'all under the impression that Pan-Africanism necessarily and specifically needs African Americans in order for it to work. Because a lot of you guys, a lot of you FBA weirdos are on here saying I see the name of y'all videos. Y'all doing some weird shit, right? Y'all saying is Pan-Africanism, will it work without African Americans? Or is Pan-Africanism hurting black people? Well, it's just weird. The way y'all titling just lets me know y'all don't know what Pan-Africanism is. You think Pan-Africanism is Dr. Umar Johnson? And you are grossly out of your depth. You guys are swimming in 2 feet of water, and you guys are not allowed to. The lifeguard won't allow you to go across the little barrier to get into the water with the big boys and girls who can swim. All right, because you guys are like, y'all guys are so unintelligent. It's like, come on, guys. The effort you guys put into writing, FBA for life in people's comment sections and saying delineation is working, and and putting titles. You can easily just type in, what is Pan-Africanism doing? It's real simple, and you'll see. Like, for instance, the most Pan-Africanism activity that's happening right now is between the continent of Africa and the Caribbean. See, the Caribbean are black folks who own their islands, right? It's nations. I know you guys don't know what nationality. I know y'all don't understand that Jamaicans, Haitians, Barbadians, and all of them, those are nations. Countries controlled by black people. Governments, everything. They got institutions, it's all black, right? They are coordinating now with the continent of Africa with various different countries in order to connect the economies, giving the Caribbeans an opportunity to tap into a market, right, where they can sell their goods and services, right, to a massive market, where they can get products and services and manufactured goods from Africa instead of relying on the UK and all that stuff. It's so bad that the UK is threatening the Caribbean islands, okay? Threatening the Caribbean islands, right, to stop immigration from Africa, or they're going to make Caribbeans be required to have visas to go to Europe. Because they're upset that the Caribbeans are offering $200,000 gold membership into the country. So if you have $200,000 on a retainer, you can get citizenship in a lot of these countries. Now, why would Europe be upset about that, right? Because Europe is saying, oh, you can't vet. They're saying the Caribbean don't have the ability or the technology or the wherewithal to vet the people that they're allowed to come in their countries. So the white man is telling black nations who they're not supposed to let in their countries. This is white supremacy. Now, this was happening on the globe. While you guys are still arguing over somebody being called a kata way back when, never. While you got 50-plus-year-old FBA members still having the same 5-year argument about name calling like a bunch of elementary schools. I'm just still completely and totally FBA still completely and totally irate about some mysterious Caribbean calling them a kata. Right? They are on fire. That is the worst thing that's ever happened to them, is somebody calling them a kata, which they've never been called, by the way. Keep in mind, they've heard the word, they've never been called a kata, right? But they're so offended, right? While that's going on, Pan-Africanism is fighting against white supremacy on the global scale. Pan-Africanism is making it so African countries, I know y'all think all of Africa's beefing because y'all see South Africa beefing with a few countries. There are 54 countries in Africa. Not all of them are beefing. As a matter of fact, a lot of African countries are eliminating visas so that Africans can travel and do commerce between each country more smoothly. That's called Pan-Africanism, right? You got all the African billionaires and all the Caribbean billionaires getting together trying to figure out how they're going to operate new airport lines from the Caribbean to Africa, right? You got Caribbeans, you got millionaires, Caribbeans going to Africa establishing businesses. Right? You got African Americans. Now, we African Americans, we operate in Africa as individuals because we are not a nation. We are a nation within a nation. We are African Americans. We're part of the American nation. But currently, the American nation, which is ran by white supremacies, has a hostile foreign policy towards Africa because white people have a hostile policy towards Africa. Just like all Western white nations have hostile policies towards black nations, which you FBA don't seem to understand. That's why I don't understand why y'all make fun of Caribbean nations for lacking in development when it's America, you know, the imperialistic white supremacist system that creates the environment to cause these countries to be lacking in development. But since you guys don't know what you're talking about, y'all just run your mouths like little white supremacist pets and shit, right? But so, just so you know, Pan-Africanism is actually doing real things in real life. Because Pan-Africanism, right, who is included in Pan-Africanisms? African heads of state who actually got their head on their shoulders. Because believe it or not all African heads of state are corrupt. We actually have some good Pan-African heads of state. Because like I said, there's 54 countries, meaning 54 heads of state. And then you have endless numbers of politicians in those countries. So yeah, it's more complicated than you can believe. But I'm just happy that the Caribbean islands are taking it upon themselves to say F you to the UK, F you to France, F you to your visa, because they rather connect economically and socially with their African brothers and sisters. Now, do they have, if the Caribbean got their own version of FBA who say they're not African? Yeah. They got some weak ass Caribbeans who are self-haters. Every race have weak members of their community. Every single race. Every single race. So Africans are no different. We got weak members, right? Weak Caribbeans who are Afropeans. We got Continental Africans who are Afropeans. We got coon-ass African Americans who are Afropeans, right? These are African people who rather utilize the institutions of whiteness and capitulate to whiteness in order to get those white butter biscuits to get validated by whiteness, because they view whiteness as the standard for everything. They're brainwashed, right? There's a lot of them, right? But for all you FBA who are clearly unaware, right, of anything outside of your top picks for March Madness, outside of your NFL draft picks, outside of what's going on the Real Housewives of Potomac in Atlanta, outside of what your favorite goddamn YouTube gossipers talking about, y'all don't know shit. But then y'all come online because it's popular to, you know, have a podcast and speak your mind and then go with the trend of what he said or what she said and act like you said, all right? Bunch of mindless drones on the internet talking shit about things they don't know about, right? But just know, Pan-Africanism is at its height of momentum right now. That's why Pan-Africanism is being attacked. That's why white supremacy has released the Kraken, has released all the snakes in the grass. That's why Tariq Nasheed is on his mission to destabilize black people and to isolate black people. He's getting paid. That's why you got all the black grifters. That's why you got the fake nanas. That's why you got them out here on the other side causing division on one side. You got your nanas, your Tariq Nasheeds. You got all your little division. Everybody's, all white supremacists' pets are in their place doing their part to slow down the progress of Pan-Africanism, because Pan-Africanism is having an effect. Pan-Africanism has major effects because African countries, slowly but surely, as they get politicians that are more up to date on how things supposed to work politically on the global stage start making their moves, right? White people are on the back foot. We are gaining leverage. African countries are gaining leverage. You think all of a sudden Ebola just showed up out of nowhere? You don't think white people have been sabotaging Africa by implementing Ebola, viruses in Africa? You don't think they do that? We know they do that. They did it with smallpox. They did it with chickenpox. They did it with AIDS. That's what they do. Because white people are not playing. You guys are playing. All y'all fake FBA, y'all playing revolutionary. Y'all playing pretend. Y'all playing like y'all care. Y'all playing like y'all upset, right? But you see, Pan-Africans, we not playing because we understand that our enemy's not playing. Y'all on the internet playing games and joking, while Pan-Africans are in the real world making real decisions that will, reflect and will affect your children. You better be lucky that Pan-Africans like me are out here doing shit in real life, right? And not just sitting on here talking shit to you motherfuckers. All right? Even though people like myself do find time to talk shit to you motherfuckers, because like I say, you can't let the rat infesting continue. You can't ignore the rat infesting. You can't ignore the roach infestation, which FBA is, and the roach infestation. You can't hit the lights and say, and pretend like it's not there. If you pretend like the roaches are not there, they're just going to multiply. So it's up to people like myself who got all the time in the world to continue to talk shit, belittle, and embarrass FBA and remind everybody that FBA doesn't represent African Americans, while upholding and uplifting Pan-Africanism and doing real Pan-African action outside of this YouTube like I'm doing. That's why I can say the shit I'm saying, because I walk the walk. Since I walk the walk, anybody can say nothing about me. So yeah, just so you guys know, Pan-Africanism in the real world are making moves, taking position, right? Taking more spots on the monopoly board, right? Putting up hotels and shit. Like we taking the board, all right? We taking all the utilities and all that shit. That's what Pan-Africanism is doing. This is a generational war, meaning you won't see all the results within your lifetime. Our children will receive the results of the actions that we take. And you see Pan-Africans and smart individuals who know this, we understand that we are in the battle and we're not necessarily going to get to see the benefits of that battle. We're not necessarily going to see the promised land or the promised times that we currently fight for. But because we're not selfish and we actually care about our children, right? And we deal with real life and we don't spend all our time trying to, entertain ourselves or be distracted from the real world, right? We know these things. But you people, you FBA, you guys live 5 minutes to 5 minutes. You guys live mindless entertainment to mindless entertainment. You just want to laugh and joke and cackle and fight because it's fun. It's fun for FBA to come online and talk shit. They're enjoying it. This is the most interaction FBA, the people who call themselves FBA, this is the most interaction they've ever had. They've never had this much attention. The hateful Afropeans, they've never had this much attention. Because the people that cause hate and division online are people who cause hate and division within their families, within their communities. These people are the pariahs of their own communities. I guarantee you. That's why they got so much time to be online 3, 4, 5, 6 hours a day, every single day, in the middle of the day, having panels. Like, are you not at work? What do you do for a living? Because I swear, any successful person is not getting offline. Listen, is not coming home from a hard days of work and spending 4, 5 hours online 5 days a week. They're not doing that. All right? Unless they making some cake, right? And if they ain't making no cake, because most of these FBAs ain't making no money. Only a few of them are making money. And the ones that's making money are just grifters who slide to the next grift and slide to the next grift. They figured out how to do it. They will capture a fool any day. Because a fool is born every day. And every day a fool is willing to give it their money to somebody that's slightly smarter than them and got a little bit of charisma. But anyway, that's all I got to say. Just understand, you can make all the videos about, is Pan-Africanism hurting us? Pan-Africanism versus, you can say the word Pan-Africanism and you can have a circle jerk with all your weakling FBA do-nothing Negroes and y'all can talk about Pan-Africanism all you want because most time y'all don't know what y'all talking about. But while y'all doing that, actual Pan-Africans are actually doing things to improve the black community and we're actually fighting for reparations on a global scale against those who actually owe us the actual reparations. So, yeah, that's all I want to say. You guys tell me what you think in the comment section. It's Afro Think Tank. Learn something, teach something. I'm out.
A historic conversation is currently happening between Africa and the Caribbean region, and this could actually change how they will grow together for the future and also trade with each other for generations to come. Right now, the president of Ghana, John Mahama, is actually in Jamaica for a state visit, and he has actually announced when Ghana gets the African Union chairmanship in 2027, he will advocate as hard as he can and push for the Caribbean region joining the African Free Continental Trade Area. And this would be absolutely amazing news because the Caribbean would get access to the market of 1.4 billion people, and also they would get more access to products from Africa coming into the Caribbean more easily and less tariffs on their products too, and it would just benefit both of the regions in such big ways. And also it would help drive more economic growth and manufacturing and investments between both of these regions. And what I love about this, guys, in particular, is that it is showing how, if this can be done, we are breaking more and more away from those colonial ties which were left behind when the colonial powers supposedly left both of our regions. But I want to hear all your thoughts in the comment section down below if you truly think that this is actually going to be able to
Africa and the Caribbean nations have came together to force a 19-point plan on all the countries that were responsible for the transatlantic slave trade, right? So let me read this to you real quick. Africa and the Caribbean nations endorsed a sweeping 19-point framework for reparatory justice at a historic joint summit in Accra, Ghana. The framework demands formal apologies from the centuries that profited from the transatlantic slave trade and proposes tangible remedies including debt relief, the return of looted cultural artifacts, and a global reparations fund. Now look, I'm not opposed to none of this, right? Because I believe that those people who are responsible for the transatlantic slave trade must pay something, okay? Because to say in 2026 that one group of fucking people across the planet weren't the losers and weren't detrimented to a level that's unfucking imaginable is insane, right? The only problem I have is there each government where the slave trade took place are going to have to be responsible for that group of enslaved people, right? So I don't necessarily know what Africa would want from America, for an example, because I'm a Black American, but I do know what Black Americans deserve from America. I know that for a fact. So, like I said, I'm not opposed to this at all, but this just seems like another um African attempt to get their hands in on the reparations talk and or pot when it actually comes to be, right? So this 19-point document merges the advocacy agencies of the African Union and Caribbean Community, CARICOM, building a landmark United Nations resolution that recognized transatlantic slave trade as the gravest crime against humanity. The joint plan calls for a major reconstruction of international financial systems and increased climate justice financing for vulnerable history.
Could Africa's free trade zone soon stretch across the Atlantic? Ghana's President John Mahama wants Caribbean nations included in the African Continental Free Trade Area, or AFCFTA, once Ghana assumes the African Union chairmanship next year. At first glance, the idea seems unlikely. African nations created the AFCFTA for intra-Africa trade. The Caribbean is also thousands of miles away. So why expand it? Africa and the Caribbean have deep connections through the Africa diaspora, and the African Union has increasingly strengthened ties with Caribbean nations. But this proposal is about more than history. Mahama argues that bringing Caribbean countries into AFCFTA could boost trade, investment, and business partnerships between the two regions. It could open new markets for African products while creating opportunities for Caribbean businesses to access a market of more than 1 billion people. There's also a strategic reason. As global economic competition intensifies, both Africa and the Caribbean are looking to diversify their trade relationships and strengthen South-South cooperation. However, there are major hurdles. The AFCFTA is still being implemented across Africa, with many countries facing hurdles involving infrastructure, logistics, and trade barriers. Some might argue that the agreement should be fully operational before taking on new members from outside the continent. There's also a legal obstacle. The AFCFTA treaty was designed for African states, meaning that admitting Caribbean countries would likely require significant legal and political changes approved by member nations. So while Caribbean membership is unlikely to happen overnight, Mahama's proposal signals a broader vision, transforming Africa's relationship with its diaspora from cultural ties into economic integration. The question is, should Africa focus on strengthening AFCFTA at home first, or is it time to bring the Caribbean into the world's largest free trade area? Let us know what you think in the comments.
Caribbean cousin, the European Union is now concerned that rich Africans are moving to the Caribbean. You don't want us in your country. You want us to stay in our own country. Now that Caribbean and Africans are connecting and doing trade amongst each other, you are now concerned. You want to still come to our country, take all our minerals, and we should still be underneath your foot. We'll take our $40 trillion in trade and trade amongst our own people. Keep your concern, because you didn't want us. You want us to stay underneath your foot. It's funny. You don't want us, but we want each other, and you're concerned. Life. It's a full circle.
The EU has given Grenada, St. Lucia, Dominica, Antigua and Barbuda and St. Kitts and Nevis until June 2028 to begin closing their citizenship by investment programs, or risk losing visa-free access across Europe. So let me explain what's happening. So these countries currently allow approved foreign investors to become citizens by investing money into their country, right? And the EU says that once someone gets one of those passports, they also get visa-free access to the Schengen area, even though Europe didn't personally vet them, right? So Caribbean governments are frustrated because they've literally spent years introducing stronger security checks, interviews and information sharing that Europe asked for, only to now be told that the issue isn't how the programs operate. It's that they exist at all, right? So it kind of feels like the goalposts are moving a bit. And this is a big deal because these programs bring tens of millions of dollars that help fund roads, schools and public services. And now Europe absolutely has the right to decide who enters Europe, but these countries also have the sovereign right to decide how they raise revenue, no? So what's the solution? Well, if Europe wants these programs phased out, I think that it should help finance that transition, but I also wonder if there's another compromise. Like, what if investors could become citizens of Grenada, St. Lucia, but they didn't automatically receive visa-free access to Europe? What if they had to apply for a Schengen visa like everyone else? That would remove Europe's biggest security concern while allowing those countries to continue attracting investment. Or perhaps maybe that's why they want to do it. Maybe they want the 2-in-1 anyway, but maybe they move towards residency by investment instead, where investors have to actually live in the country for several years before qualifying for citizenship. Those are the kinds of compromises I think that both sides should be discussing, because this doesn't have to be, in my opinion, a choice between shutting the programs down completely or pretending nothing needs to change. Sometimes the best negotiation is the one where both sides give up a little bit. Anyway, what are your thoughts? Let me know in the comment section.
The European Union has expressed concern about rich Africans who are moving to the Caribbean. That's a real thing. The European Union have expressed concern that rich Africans are actually moving to the Caribbean, because I suppose you don't want people of the Caribbean and people of Africa trading together. And why would you want such a union? Black people reconnecting with other black people, going to a black country predominantly run by black people. That should raise a huge concern to the European Union. And the thing that annoys me most about colonizers is that they don't want you in their territory, but they don't want you in your territory. So basically what they're trying to say is, Africans, please stay in Africa, okay? Do not even go to other countries where other black people live, because we don't like when black people are getting along. And the absurdity of this.
I'm so pro-black, you can't get me to involve myself in diaspora wars. I'm every nigga on this earth. I'm African, I'm Caribbean, I'm Afro-Latina, I'm Afro-European. If you're a nigga, I am you, you're me. I don't know what to tell you. You're me, you're me, I'm you. I don't know.
Free Sudan! Boycott diamonds and gold! Free Sudan! Boycott diamonds and gold! We most definitely cannot forget about the people of Sudan!
Thanks for watching Afro Think Tank. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And follow me on Substack and Patreon for more content. Remember, it's Pan-Africanism or nothing.